The clock on my dashboard read exactly 9 p.m. when I pulled into my driveway after another exhausting day at the office. My wife, Emily, always texted me if she was running late, and she never missed our nightly dinner together. That night, however, every light in the house was on, the front door was unlocked, and an eerie silence swallowed the place. I called her name once, then louder, but no one answered. Just as I reached for my phone to call her, I noticed her sitting on the kitchen counter, still charging. The screen suddenly lit up, and what I discovered seconds later changed my life forever. I picked up her phone, expecting to find a missed call or a message explaining where she had gone. Instead, it was locked. Emily had never hidden her password from me, yet suddenly none of the codes I knew worked. While staring at the screen, a notification briefly appeared before disappearing again. It was only a photo preview, but I caught a glimpse of Emily smiling beside a man whose face had been cropped out. My heart started pounding. After several failed attempts, I remembered our wedding anniversary and typed it in. The phone unlocked instantly, and I wished it never had. The gallery looked completely ordinary until I noticed a hidden album protected by Face ID. Since the phone was already unlocked, it opened without asking again. Hundreds of pictures filled the screen. Most were harmless at first. Coffee shops, restaurants, parks, but then they became impossible to ignore. Emily stood hand in hand with another man, smiling in ways she hadn't smiled with me for months. My hands shook as I continued scrolling until I froze. The man's face finally appeared clearly, and I felt the room spin. It was Daniel, my closest friend for over 15 years. I refused to believe what I was seeing. Daniel had been my best man at our wedding. He came to every birthday party, every holiday dinner, every barbecue in our backyard. Only 3 nights earlier, he had sat across from us laughing over pizza while pretending everything was normal. I searched through more photos hoping they were old or innocent, but each one became worse than the last. Hotel lobbies, beach vacations, romantic dinners. Then I found videos filled with laughter and whispered promises. The betrayal wasn't recent. It had been happening for nearly a year behind my back. Before I could process everything, Emily's phone buzzed again. This time, the message appeared long enough for me to read it. "Is he home yet? Meet me at the cabin if it's safe." The sender's name wasn't Daniel. It simply read Coach. Confused, I opened the conversation. Every previous message had been deleted except one shared location pinned at the top. My mind raced. Why would Daniel hide behind another name? Or was someone else involved? Against every instinct telling me to call the police, I grabbed my car keys and drove toward the remote lakeside cabin marked on the map. The cabin sat deep in the woods nearly 40 minutes away. Every light inside was off except one upstairs window. I parked far enough away to avoid being seen and quietly walked closer. Through the window I spotted Emily arguing with someone, but it wasn't Daniel. It was my company director, Richard, the man who had mentored me for nearly a decade. Suddenly Daniel walked into the room carrying several folders. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught one sentence that chilled me. Richard slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "If Michael finds those files, all of us are finished." I wasn't just dealing with an affair anymore. Something much darker connected them. I circled around the cabin until I found a slightly open basement window. From there I overheard enough to understand pieces of the truth. Richard had been stealing millions of dollars through fake company contracts. Daniel had helped move the money, while Emily secretly handled encrypted financial records because of her accounting background. The affair had begun during those meetings and eventually turned into a relationship. I wasn't supposed to discover either secret. The empty house wasn't an accident. They thought I'd be working late. Just as I prepared to leave quietly, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I had forgotten to silence it. The ringtone echoed through the silent woods. Instantly every voice inside stopped. A flashlight beam swept across the backyard. Someone yelled, "Who's out there?" I ran toward my car while footsteps crashed behind me. Tires spun across the gravel as another SUV chased me onto the highway. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly they hurt. For nearly 20 terrifying minutes they stayed behind me before suddenly disappearing into the darkness without explanation. The next morning I reported everything to the police, expecting immediate action. Instead, I learned something shocking. Richard had powerful connections, and without physical evidence, my story sounded unbelievable. The hidden photos proved the affair but not the financial crimes. Worse still, Emily had filed a missing person report on herself through an anonymous call during the night, making me appear suspicious. Detectives questioned where I had been and why I had accessed her phone. Overnight, I had become the husband everyone quietly suspected instead of the victim who had lost everything. Then I remembered something almost too insignificant to matter. Daniel had once borrowed my old smartwatch during a hiking trip because his battery had died. Months later he accidentally returned it without removing his synchronized cloud account. I dug through an old drawer until I found it. After charging the watch, dozens of location logs and deleted notifications automatically appeared. Better yet, the paired cloud accounts still contained backup files. Hidden among them were voice recordings of Richard ordering illegal transfers and Daniel discussing how Emily had become too emotionally attached to him. I handed every file to federal investigators instead of local authorities. Within days, search warrants were issued. Richard's office computers revealed years of financial fraud, offshore accounts, and encrypted communications matching the recordings. Daniel tried escaping across the border but was arrested before boarding a flight. Emily disappeared again, this time knowing the investigation had uncovered everything. When police finally located her at a motel several states away, she confessed not only to the affair but also to helping destroy evidence. She cried during questioning, insisting she never intended for everything to spiral so completely out of control. Months later I sat alone in the courtroom listening as guilty verdicts were read one after another. Richard received a lengthy prison sentence for fraud and conspiracy. Daniel was convicted for financial crimes and obstruction of justice. Emily accepted a plea agreement that ended both her freedom and our marriage forever. When the judge asked whether I wished to make a victim impact statement, I stood, looked directly at them, and said only one sentence: "The greatest betrayal isn't losing the person you loved. It's discovering they helped strangers destroy the life you built together." Today, people often ask when my marriage truly ended. Was it the hidden affair? The lies? The courtroom? The answer is none of those. It ended at exactly 9 p.m. when I walked into what looked like an ordinary home and found an empty silence waiting for me. A phone charging on a kitchen counter seemed harmless, yet one hidden photo exposed betrayal, greed, and deception far beyond anything I could have imagined. If there's one lesson my story leaves behind, it's this: sometimes the smallest discovery uncovers the darkest truth hiding in plain sight.